The conference room fell silent as the holographic projection flickered to life above the obsidian table. Admiral Chen Xiao stood motionless, his weathered hands clasped behind his back, watching the alien vessel materialize in translucent blue light. It was massive. Dwarfing Earth's largest orbital stations like a whale beside minnows, Dr. Sarah Vance leaned forward in her chair, her coffee forgotten and growing cold. She had spent 30 years studying the possibility of first contact, but nothing in her research had prepared her for this moment. The message had arrived 3 hours ago, broadcast simultaneously to every communications device on Earth. The translation was imperfect, but the meaning was crystal clear. The Dominion, as they called themselves, had come to deliver an ultimatum. Humanity had 7 days to answer a single question, and the fate of the entire planet hung on their response. Commander Marcus Webb paced near the window, his reflection ghosting across the glass as he stared out at the Geneva skyline. Below, the streets were chaos. People were panicking, looting, praying. Some were celebrating, convinced that advanced aliens meant salvation. Marcus knew better. He had seen the preliminary scans of their fleet. 47 capital ships, each one capable of glassing a continent. This was not a delegation. This was a judgment. The question itself was deceptively simple, yet it had fractured the United Earth Council into a dozen competing factions within hours. Sarah read it again from her tablet, her lips moving silently as she parsed each word. What makes your species worthy of survival? The Dominion wanted an answer, backed by proof, demonstrated through action. They had given humanity 1 week to convince them that Earth deserved to continue existing. Chen turned from the hologram, his dark eyes scanning the faces around the table. Politicians, scientists, military officers, philosophers, the best minds humanity could assemble on short notice. They had been arguing for 2 hours, and they were no closer to consensus than when they started. Some wanted to showcase human art and culture. Others insisted on demonstrating technological innovation or military strength. A few radicals suggested that humanity should refuse to answer at all, that dignity demanded defiance. Sarah cleared her throat, and the room quieted. She was not the highest-ranking person present, but her voice carried weight. "We need to understand who we're dealing with," she said, her words measured and careful. "The Dominion has made contact with 43 other species in the past millennium. We've decrypted some of their cultural database from the initial transmission. Of those 43 civilizations, only 11 still exist." The weight of those numbers settled over the room like a shroud. Marcus stopped pacing. A Brazilian diplomat crossed herself. Chen's jaw tightened, but his expression remained unreadable. "What happened to the others?" someone asked from the back of the room. Sarah tapped her tablet, and new data cascaded across the shared screens. 22 were eliminated, deemed unworthy. The Dominion is not interested in potential or promises. They evaluate species based on demonstrated value. If you cannot prove your worth, you are considered a resource drain, a potential future threat, or simply irrelevant. In any case, the outcome is the same. And the remaining 10? Chen asked quietly, still under observation. Given more time to develop, but with strict limitations imposed on their expansion and technology. Sarah's fingers trembled slightly as she scrolled through the files. The pattern is clear. The Dominion sees itself as gardeners of the galaxy. They prune what they consider weeds and cultivate what they deem valuable. We have 7 days to convince them we're worth cultivating. Marcus returned to the table, planting his palms on the polished surface. Then we give them a demonstration they cannot ignore. We show them our military capabilities, our willingness to fight. Respect is earned through strength. That is precisely what the Zerachi tried, Sarah countered, bringing up another file. They were species number 17. Advanced warriors, exceptional tacticians. They demonstrated their martial prowess with gladiatorial combat and strategic simulations. The Dominion was impressed, then eliminated them anyway. Their reasoning was documented. A species that glorifies violence is a species that will eventually threaten the established order. The room erupted in arguments again. Chen raised his hand, and silence gradually returned. "Then what do we show them, Dr. Vance? If strength fails, If culture is insufficient, if technology is not enough, what answer could possibly satisfy them? Sarah stood, her chair scraping against the floor. She walked to the window where Marcus had been standing, looking out at the city below. Somewhere down there, a mother was holding her child. A teacher was trying to calm a classroom full of frightened students. A doctor was still treating patients, even as the world fell apart around them. Ordinary people doing ordinary things in the face of extinction. "I don't know yet," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I know this. Every species the Dominion evaluated was trying to impress them, to perform for them, to give them what they thought an advanced civilization wanted to see. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe we've been thinking about this wrong from the start." Chen joined her at the window. "Explain. What if the question is not what makes humanity worthy compared to their standards, but what makes humanity unique compared to every other species they have judged?" Sarah turned to face him, and for the first time since the transmission arrived, she saw something other than fear in her own reflection. It was not quite hope, not yet, but it was the beginning of an idea. Outside, the first stars were becoming visible in the darkening sky. Somewhere up there, the Dominion fleet waited for Earth's answer. The clock was ticking, and humanity had 6 days and 21 hours left to save itself. Asterisk, the underground facility in Colorado had been built during the Cold War, designed to withstand nuclear apocalypse. Now it served a different purpose. Sarah stood in the center of the converted command center, surrounded by screens displaying data from every corner of the planet. The Dominion had been watching Earth for 72 hours. Their sensors sweeping across cities, oceans, and wilderness areas. They were cataloging, analyzing, preparing their judgment. Marcus entered the room carrying a stack of folders, his uniform crisp, despite the sleepless nights they had all endured. "The regional councils have submitted their proposals. You need to see this." He spread the documents across the table, each one representing a different approach to answering the Dominion's question. Tokyo suggested a demonstration of human harmony through collective action. Moscow wanted to showcase historical resilience and survival against impossible odds. New York proposed an exhibition of innovation and adaptability. Sarah rubbed her tired eyes, scanning through the proposals one by one. They were all good ideas, thoughtful and well-reasoned. They were also all wrong. She could feel it in her bones, that same instinct that had guided her research for 3 decades. The Dominion had seen everything before. They had judged 43 civilizations. Whatever humanity presented had to be something they had never encountered. Something that would make them pause and reconsider their entire framework. Kuhn's voice crackled through the comm system. "Dr. Vance, we have a situation. The Dominion is hailing us again." Sada's heart hammered against her ribs. It had only been 3 days. They still had 4 days left, according to the original timeline. She rushed to the communications suite where a dozen technicians were already working frantically at their stations. The main screen showed the lead Dominion ship, sleek metallic surface reflecting Earth's blue glow. The alien face that appeared was humanoid enough to be unsettling. Angular features, eyes that seemed to see through matter itself, skin that shimmered with colors that had no name in human language. The Dominion Arbiter spoke, and the translation software rendered its words into flat, emotionless English. "Humanity of Earth. We have completed our preliminary evaluation. Your infrastructure is adequate. Your technology shows promise. Your biological diversity is noteworthy. However, these factors alone are insufficient. We have observed your global networks, your communications, your conflicts. You have 2 remaining days to present your answer, not 7. Other matters require our attention. Respond within 48 hours or face summary judgment." The transmission ended abruptly. Sarah felt the blood drain from her face. 2 days. They had just lost more than half their remaining time. Marcus slammed his fist against the console. "They are playing games with us, testing us, seeing how we react under pressure." "Maybe," Sarah said slowly, her mind racing. "Or maybe they already know our answer and they are waiting to see if we realize it ourselves." She pulled up the Dominion's database again. The files they had shared about the other species they had evaluated. Sarah had read through them dozens of times, but now she looked with fresh eyes. The species that survived had something in common, though it was subtle. The Valinor were poets who had turned their entire moon into a living artwork. The Kresh were architects who built cities that existed in 4 dimensions. The Komothi were dreamers who had learned to share consciousness across their entire species. They were all unique, Sarah murmured, not just advanced or peaceful or strong. They offered something that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. Marcus leaned over her shoulder, following her logic. So what does humanity offer that is unique? What do we have that 43 other species did not? Sarah closed her eyes, thinking back to the window in Geneva. To the people below going about their lives, even as extinction loomed. She thought about her grandmother, who had survived 3 wars and still planted flowers every spring. She thought about the firefighter who had pulled her from a burning building when she was 7. A stranger who risked everything for someone he had never met. She thought about every small act of kindness. Every irrational choice to help rather than harm. Every moment when a human being chose compassion over logic, or irrationality, she whispered. Then louder, our beautiful, ridiculous, completely illogical irrationality. Marcus frowned. Explain. Sarah spun to face him, energy suddenly coursing through her exhausted body. Every other species the Dominion evaluated was trying to prove their worth through excellence in something. Art, technology, warfare, philosophy. They were presenting their best qualities, their most logical achievements. But humans are not defined by our logic. We are defined by our willingness to be illogical. She pulled up footage from around the world, clips that had been broadcasting since the Dominion arrived. A man in Mumbai sharing his last food with a starving dog. A woman in Paris organizing neighborhood watch groups to protect the elderly and afraid. Children in Santiago creating artwork to comfort each other. Volunteers everywhere doing things that made no rational sense when extinction was imminent. We run into burning buildings to save strangers, Sarah continued, her voice growing stronger. We sacrifice our own survival for abstract concepts like honor and love. We create art that serves no practical purpose. We explore space, knowing we might never return. We are the only species crazy enough to care about things that do not directly benefit our survival. That is what makes us worthy. Not despite our irrationality, but because of it. Marcus stared at the screens, understanding dawning in his eyes. You want to show them our chaos? Oh, Sarah corrected. I want to show them our heart. The Dominion evaluates species based on logic, on measurable contributions to galactic order. But they are missing something. They are missing the value of beings who choose to care even when caring makes no sense. Chen's voice came through the come again, urgent. Dr. Vance, we need a decision. What do we present to the Dominion? Sarah looked at Marcus, then at the screens, showing humanity in all its messy, beautiful, irrational glory. She took a deep breath. Everything, she said. We show them everything we are. Not our best face or our strongest qualities. We show them the truth, and we let them decide if the galaxy has room for a species that chooses love over logic. The clock showed 47 hours and counting. Humanity was about to gamble everything on the one thing no other species had dared to show. Their imperfect, impossible, utterly human hearts. Asterisk, the transmission went live across every channel. Every frequency, every quantum band the Dominion used for communication. Sarah stood before the camera. No makeup, no prepared speech. Just a tired scientist in a wrinkled shirt speaking truth to the beings who held her world's fate in their hands. Behind her, screens displayed a live feed of Earth, unfiltered and raw. Arbiter of the Dominion, she began, her voice steady, despite the trembling in her hands. You asked, what makes humanity worthy of survival? We have spent 4 days debating this question, searching for the perfect answer. The demonstration that would impress you most? We considered showing you our technology, our art, our capacity for warfare or peace. But all of those would be lies. Not because they are untrue, but because they are incomplete. She gestured to the screens behind her. This is humanity, right now. In this moment, facing extinction, We have not unified under a single purpose. We have not created a grand spectacle. Look at the chaos. In Cairo, people are rioting over food distribution. In Seattle, a concert is happening in a public park. Thousands gathered to hear music one last time. In Bangladesh, volunteers are still building homes destroyed by last month's flood. Even though none of it may matter in 40 hours, the Dominion Arbiter's face appeared on the return feed, impassive and unreadable. Sarah pressed forward. We are messy. We are contradictory. We are statistically likely to make choices that harm our own survival. By any logical measure, we are inefficient, chaotic, and deeply flawed. She paused, meeting those alien eyes that had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. And that is precisely what makes us worthy. Marcus stood beside Chen in the observation room, watching Sarah's transmission with held breath. The veteran commander had seen combat on 3 continents, had faced death more times than he could count, but he had never felt tension like this. Everything humanity had ever been, everything it could ever become. Balanced on the words of one exhausted scientist, Sarah continued, her voice growing stronger. You have evaluated 43 species. The data you shared shows a pattern. The ones you deemed worthy were specialists, beings who excelled in specific, measurable ways. The Valinor mastered art beyond comprehension. The Kresh bent dimensions to their will. But humans, we are generalists of the most dangerous kind. We excel at nothing, which means we attempt everything. She pulled up footage that her team had compiled over the past day, a montage of humanity at its most human. A surgeon performing a 19-hour operation to separate conjoined twins, knowing both might die. A soldier throwing himself on a grenade to save his unit. A teacher spending her own money to buy supplies for students she would never see graduate. An elderly man sitting beside a dying stranger in a hospital, holding her hand so she would not face death alone. We are the species that runs toward danger to save those we love. We sacrifice our comfort for abstract concepts like justice and dignity. We create beauty, knowing it will fade. We explore knowing we may never return. We love knowing we will lose. Every single day, billions of humans make choices that are completely, utterly, beautifully irrational. Expression shifted. Something that might have been curiosity flickering across those alien features. Sarah seized the moment. You see the galaxy as a garden to be cultivated, species to be judged on their contribution to cosmic order. But you are missing something vital. You are missing the value of chaos, of irrationality, of beings who choose to care, even when the universe says caring is inefficient. She stepped closer to the camera, her eyes burning with intensity. The species you have eliminated, the ones you judged unworthy, they tried to give you what you wanted. They performed for you. We refuse to perform. This is who we are, flaws and all. In the Dominion flagship, the Arbiter stood before the Council of Nine, the eldest beings in a civilization that spanned 3 galaxies. They had been watching Sarah's transmission in silence, processing implications that rippled through their carefully ordered understanding of the universe. Fascinating, whispered Counselor Vareth, its form shimmering with agitation. In 10,000 years, no species has refused to showcase their strengths. No species has weaponized their weaknesses. Sarah's transmission was reaching its conclusion. You want to know what humanity offers the galaxy? We offer hope. Not the logical kind, not the calculated probability of positive outcomes. We offer the irrational, stubborn, impossible hope that refuses to die even when death is certain. We are the species that looked at the stars and decided to reach them. We are the beings who face extinction and still plant trees whose shade we will never enjoy. She spread her hands, palms up, offering everything and nothing. So here is humanity's answer, Arbiter. We are worthy of survival, not because we are strong or wise or advanced. We are worthy because in a universe governed by entropy and inevitable heat death, we choose to create meaning anyway. We choose to love, to build, to dream, knowing that all of it is temporary. If that is not enough for you, if the galaxy has no room for a species defined by beautiful, defiant irrationality, then you will destroy us. But you cannot take from us what we have already given each other. You cannot erase the fact that we mattered to ourselves. The transmission ended. Silence fell across the command center, across the planet, across the vast distance between Earth and the Dominion fleet. For 17 minutes, nothing happened. 17 minutes, where 8 billion people held their breath. Then the Dominion ships began to move, their engines igniting with light that painted Earth's atmosphere in colors that had no names. Marcus gripped the console, preparing for the end. But the ships were not forming an attack pattern. They were withdrawing, pulling back from Earth's orbital space. The Arbiter's face appeared one final time. For the first time, something like emotion crossed those alien features. When it spoke, the words were not translated by software, but came in perfect, unaccented English. In 10,000 years, we have cultivated order across the stars. We have built perfection through elimination. And in building perfection, we realize now, we have created sterility. The Arbiter paused, and what might have been a smile crossed its face. Humanity is chaos. Humanity is inefficient. Humanity is everything our civilization has spent millennia eliminating, which is precisely why the galaxy needs you. The ships vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind a single data packet. Instructions for contact, for dialogue, for a future where humanity's beautiful irrationality would be protected, studied, and perhaps one day understood. Sarah collapsed into her chair, tears streaming down her face. Marcus whooped, punching the air. Chen allowed himself the smallest smile, a hairline crack in his stoic facade. Humanity had not proven it was the strongest or the wisest. It had proven something far more important. It had proven that in a cold, logical universe, there was still room for beings who chose to be warm, who chose to be human. The answer had been there all along. Written in every illogical act of kindness, every irrational choice to hope, humanity was worthy not despite its flaws, but because those flaws were the cracks that let the light shine through and across the stars. The Dominion carried that light with them, a reminder that perfection without chaos is just another form of death. Asterisk.